Hello, ladies and gentlemen, gabestah here. This is the quick guide for heroic twin consorts, and as usual, if you're looking for more information and detail, you can click on the full guide annotation there on the screen. So let's get started. For your raid composition, you'll want 2 tanks and 2 to 3 healers. I would strongly recommend 2 healers, as this fight has very little healing requirement to it. So to deal with Lurkers of the Night, which are the new add type on heroic that spawn during the night phase, that often Shadowbolt players, you need to move Suen around the room near the locations of the Lurkers while she's using Tears of the Sun during this phase. This will cause the Lurkers to pop out of their realm and be attackable. Once a tank pulls Suen near these and spawns a few of them, they should just move back into melee range, and the tank can kill them down, or just miscellaneous cleave damage can do it. Your DPS do not need to focus on the Lurkers at all, because they're not damaging at all once they're out of the shadowy realm. So the next addition on heroic is Nuclear Inferno, and this is cast by Suen throughout the day phase, and this will cause her to AE the entire raid for about 100,000 base damage per second for 8 seconds. This is modified by her Blazing Radiance stack, and is an addition to the Blazing Radiance damage. So there's quite a bit of damage. To deal with it, your raid should stack up in the shadow of an ice comet, so that their damage is reduced by 60% on heroic. This will make that damage quite healable, and you don't really need any cooldowns to deal with it. Now, throughout most of the day phase, you can use 2 comets, and then every 3rd comet you'll need to save by keeping Suen far away from it so she doesn't drain the health of it very quickly. So once the 3rd comet spawns, your tank just keeps the boss away from it, and your raid gets ready to stack in it for the next Inferno. So here you can see another comet has spawned, and Inferno's coming up, so our raid's going to save that comet, and we'll stack in it in just a moment here. So every 3rd comet, simply save it for the next Inferno, and you'll be fine. The one exception is the very first Inferno will generally happen after the 2nd comet spawns. Sometimes, if you're unlucky, you can actually have it happen after the 1st comet only, in which case you need to use massive raid cooldowns if you did not save that 1st comet. So to deal with phase 1, it's pretty standard, just like you do in normal for the most part. Make sure your ranged and your healers are spread out so that they don't take double damage from Cosmic Barrage. When your tank gets the Beast of the Nightmares, your healers need to make sure they don't get corrupted healing stacks, or if they do, they only get 1 or 2 at most, because on heroic the damage is quite high from that. So if your healers don't know which spells cause these stacks, make sure you test it in the first couple attempts and figure out which heals you can actually cast. Eminence healing from mistweavers, for example, as a smart heal does not cause the stacks to go up. So between your tank heals and a few smart heals that don't cause stacks, you should not really have to directly heal your tank during this phase. You also want to use Cranes against Lulin, because there isn't a very good opportunity to use Cranes on the 2nd phase against Suen. So that'd be my suggestion, is to use Cranes on this 1st phase like we do here. Otherwise, just watch for the sleep mists on the ground, and have your off-tank pull Suen around while she's using Tears of the Sun to spawn the Lurkers, and then let the Lurkers die from random take damage, and you'll be fine. For the day phase, once it starts, you'll see all the Lurkers that were otherwise not revealed will spawn, and again, your tank should just pick these up and kill them as they see fit. The rest of your raid burns on Suen as much as you can. You'll want to use the Tiger almost immediately going into this phase to reduce the Blazing Radiance damage, as well as hopefully allow you to save the 1st comet for the 1st Nuclear Inferno in the event that you don't get the second comet spawn, which can happen, although it's rare. Otherwise, there's quite a bit of healing initially on this first little section of this phase, so make sure you have some raid cooldowns ready if necessary for this. Otherwise, stack for the Inferno, just like you're supposed to, and then you can use 2 comets and then save the third for the next nuke, and use 2 more comets, save the third, and so on until the phase is over. Pretty easy stuff. Rest is just like normal. Keep your raid spread out to avoid charge damage, and the little nuke that you'll cast on random raid members so that doesn't hit a comet and cause it to despawn. And then once you're through with this phase, you'll finally be on to the last phase. So during the third phase, just like in normal, your goal is to kill Suen first and then Lulin second. And you have to deal with Nuclear Inferno on this phase, as well as Tidal Force, just like on normal difficulty. However, there are no more Lurker spawns and no more Beasts of the Nightmares. So the basic setup is pretty much the same as before. Stay spread out, and when Nuclear Inferno is about to be cast, make sure you save a comet for your raid to stack in. When Tidal Force is about to be cast, use either a statue cooldown or a bunch of raid cooldowns if you don't have a statue available. So at the start of the phase, just before the first Tidal Force, we use the Tiger statue. So you may have seen that Lulin is very slow right now, and the Tidal Force damage is much lower than normal. And shortly after that finishes will be the next Inferno. So you can see we're using up one of those ice comets, and then the new one we're saving for the Nuclear Inferno. Once that's over, then you'll be prepared for the next special, which will be Tidal Force again, followed by another nuke, and so on and so forth. We also use cranes as our second statue after this Nuclear Inferno, essentially. So here you can see the cranes coming out. And this is used in this way so that the cranes hit both of these targets during this phase. Because if we waited too much longer, Suen would be dead already. So this just helps damage a little bit. But otherwise, this phase is, again, pretty easy, just like most of the fight. So just focus on getting the timing down for Nuclear Inferno, keeping the boss away when you have to save an ice comet, using cooldowns for Tidal Force in this last phase, and then having your tank get used to taunting and kiting Suen during the first phase to spawn the ads. And that's it. So, good luck on Heroic Twin Consorts, and thanks for watching.